the Cree book. Um, thank you for sharing the recording. And I'll pass it on to Manny Stiegel to share a little bit more about it.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you. Today, for our ETB open house, we will be giving away two copies of the Culturally Responsive and Equitable Evaluation Visions and Voices of Emerging Scholars, the first edition. We will be randomly selecting two attendees today and announce the winners of this book. Uh, by the end of the presentation and then follow up afterwards with an email so you may receive your copy. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let the team know. And with that, I will pass back to Angel.
Thanks, Manny. This is a book that is really special for ETB when it first came out. The scholars that came together from the lead curriculum and how they approached it and the work that they did was truly incredible. And we are just so happy to be able to continue to share that out with folks in many different spaces, including the ETB gathering, which happens every year at AEA, and now through some of these sessions to ensure that as many people as possible can access this information in the book. And so, with that, we'll talk a little bit more about our wonderful team here at Expanding the Bench. But before I move into that space, I just want to recognize and hold space for everything that is going on in the world right now, especially within the US and what's going on in the White House. I know that this week has been especially challenging for folks and scary and chaotic. And we want to, again, recommit to saying what we always say and what we do, which is to bringing culturally responsive and equitable evaluation into the space, to making that the ecosystem that we want to build for the evaluators, the funders in that space, and ultimately the communities that we serve. And so as we are expanding and as we continue to learn additional things that are coming through, we will work with our newsletter and our communications channel to ensure that folks are able to access information and resources as they're coming through. I want you all to take care of yourselves, invite you all to take care of yourselves and engage and participate in whatever way feels good for you today. Um, we get it. It's a hard time. It's a horrible and scary time for many folks. I live in a border town and it's scary. It's a scary space to be in right now. And so at the same time, there's this incredible work that needs to happen as well so that we can continue supporting the folks in the evaluation field and in the ecosystem that we all are a part of. And so with that, I want to shift a little bit to talking about the ETB team. And I invite actually Elizabeth to introduce herself. Oh, you're muted, Liz.
Such a great way to start.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Angel. I just want to welcome you all into this, what we're calling also a community. Angel's been using the word ecosystem, and we value and are working hard to support a community of Cree practicing evaluators and funders who also practice culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. My name is Elizabeth Waitzig. I am she, her pronouns. I reside in Connecticut. I am the co-director along with Angel of Expanding the Bench and also CEO of Change Matrix. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you to the entire ETB team. Nada and Nancy work with us very closely to coordinate and plan out the event for today. Manny has been helping us with the data components of it and working on some of the surveys as well as some of the coordination. And Mimi and Jen have helped with our communications components and Cash with our social media aspects. And so we all play this incredible role together to bring into this space to co-create all the activities that we do. And I just want to celebrate. And again, thank you all for your work in putting this together. And with that, you will get to meet us during the community builder, which is coming up shortly. But I'd like to shift this into some grounding space. So if we could, um, given everything that I just shared, we want to co-create a space of respect and trust. And so that means that everyone's voice and experience are valued and valid in this space. We want to practice active listening, share and listen deeply, showing empathy and understanding even when disagreeing. We want to be mindful of dominant voices. We only have a limited amount of time. And yes, for this session, it'll be a lot of us talking to you at least at the beginning as we share some of that information. And then we want you to speak from personal experience, use I statements rather than making generalizations about groups, especially when you're in a space that you might not know one another or who is coming from where. We want to respect confidentiality. We want to maintain confidentiality regarding sensitive information shared during our time together. And we want to lean into curiosity, not certainty. So we want to expect to learn from each other. And we might not have, I know I do not have all the answers after everything that's going on, but we are really here to learn and be curious together. Um, and so with that, I'd like to introduce our community builder, which talks a little bit about, or we hope will open up a space for you all to have a dialogue of what community means. Because as you will find out in a moment, expanding the bench, as Elizabeth mentioned, is a community. It's a focus of the work that we do. We find that relationships help build stronger, more resilient people. And we see that all the time from your local neighborhood spaces to national organizations and networks. And so expanding the bench is aiming to create just that with the evaluators and funders of evaluation in mind. And so as part of this community builder, given everything that's going on, we wanted to ask you, what role does community play for you? And how are you leaning on or building it to stay grounded during these times? In addition to that, we invite you to share your names, pronouns, role, organization, and location if you feel comfortable. And we'll have about 7 or 8 minutes before we come back into the main group. So with that, I'll see you all soon. All right. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, everyone. So it's never enough time. It's never enough time, no matter how much time you put into it. And it's always great to get to hear and learn from all of you and how you're coming in. So we'd like to shift back into talking a little bit more of expanding the bench. And I'm actually going to invite Elizabeth to kick us off or to start us off with sharing a little bit more about the purpose of expanding the bench and how it started and kind of where we've been.
Great. Thank you so much, Angel. I love talking about this initiative. In 2018, we learned that Annie Casey Foundation, who had started expanding the bench because they believed that the field of evaluation needed some support to become more diverse and they really wanted to support the partnerships between evaluators from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds and the funders of evaluation. And they had two programs, which we're going to hear much more about: LEAD, Leaders in Equitable Evaluation and Diversity, and ACE, for culturally responsive, a database for culturally responsive evaluators. The A is for advancing. And we were just so honored and so excited to, we call it adopting the initiative in 2018. And, we've done a lot of work to think about why this was originated, why it was important, and how it's grown into the field. And so we want to talk a little bit about, or I want to just mention a couple of things. One of them is that our origin and we continue to focus and center evaluators from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds. In everything that we do, that is the focus, that is the center, and it is something that we're very excited about and proud about. So we center evaluators from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds. We also engage in the practice of CRE. And so culturally responsive and equitable evaluation was not as much of a focus of the original expanding the bench. And we felt like we needed to focus not just on the people who were doing the work, but the practice also, because culturally responsive and equitable evaluation has so much to offer in the way that we build knowledge. So people in practice, centering and engaging are fundamental elements to the work that we're doing. And then also, we really are relationship based as a company, but we believe that change happens within the context of relationships. So as Casey originally talked about it as building a field, or they thought about supply and demand. It's fine if you enhance or increase the supply, but you also have to work on the demand side. We thought about that a little bit differently, but the principle of we want folks who are doing the evaluation to be partnering, and those who are practicing culturally responsive and equitable evaluation are able to offer that, but it doesn't matter if the field doesn't understand it and seek it. So this will happen best in the space of community. So when folks are in that ecosystem, the big firms, the smaller firms, the individual evaluators from diverse backgrounds, and those who fund the work are all in community, then we're all lifting up the practice of culturally responsive and equitable evaluation and understanding and learning from each other as it expands and grows. So we take a relationship-based approach internally. We take it in terms of the way that we design and implement expanding the bench, and that we really promote and support it in the field. So very excited about having you here to learn more about the programmatic elements, and I'll pass it back to Angel.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I love it. The last thing that I'll share before I move us along, I know we're a little behind on the schedule, is that we hope that today you will show up and see how you might fit into this ecosystem, this community of expanding the bench. Try to see if it's APES or LEAD, or if there's other components of it, like the pre-learning series that you could see yourself in. And we hope that with this additional information, you can find where you want to go to or who you need to ask an additional question or get information from, which we will have some time at the end as well for just open dialogue with the 3 different main programmatic arms, which we are about to start going over. And so with that, I'd love to welcome Cheyenne Mallinson and Dr. Tanisha Tate-Woodson to start us off with our ETB programs with LEAD.
All right, thanks, Angel. I'll kick us off. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So LEAD, or Leaders in Equitable Evaluation and Diversity, is our evaluation training pathway program for early to mid-career racially and ethnically diverse evaluators who are looking to advance CRE in the field of evaluation. So LEAD is about 15 to 16 months, a rigorous training program that contains 4 main components. So this includes an online curriculum where the scholars are learning the theory and practice of CRE. This is guided by the CRE book that Angel introduced in the beginning. There's also solo online learning components, guest speakers, and group discussions on Zoom. And then the scholars are also paired with mentors who are seasoned evaluators with 10 plus years of experience, and they are with their mentor throughout the entire experience. And they're really there to guide them throughout the program, help them with networking, any questions they have about applying CRE in the field. And then they are paired with the practicum site, which is an organization that is looking to incorporate CRE in their work. And the scholar is really there to act as a thought partner in applying CRE throughout the organization in a specific evaluation project. And then we also offer professional development sessions throughout the entire program. These are often led by other ETB community members or evaluation leaders in the field. And these sessions are based on areas that the scholars are interested in learning more about, like contract negotiation, leadership, or other things that we deem that they feel would boost their careers and boost their experience in CRE. Next slide, please. So the LEAD cohort cycle, like I said, is about 15 to 16 months. So it starts with recruitment and selection, which is coming soon. We open applications in the spring. We do interviews and selection around June and July. And then we kick off the program with the LEAD Symposium in August or September. This is a 2-day in-person event that brings together the scholars, the mentors, and the practicum sites to get to know each other, get to know more about LEAD, and kick off learning about CRE. And then during the fall, that's when they do the online curriculum. And then after their curriculum is over, from January through the end of the following fall, they are placed with their practicum site. And throughout that time, they're also doing professional development. They're doing check-ins with us, the ETB team. They're doing check-ins with their mentor. And then at the end of the program, they're culminated at the American Evaluation Association conference with a lovely large celebration for the LEAD culmination. So how can you participate in LEAD? If you are an early to mid-career evaluator that is looking to learn more about CRE, with 3 to 5 years of evaluation experience and a graduate degree, it can be master's or above, we welcome you to apply to be a LEAD scholar. The one stipulation is due to the time commitment that it takes to be a LEAD scholar and participate in the program, you can't currently be in school at the time of application. If you are an evaluator with 10 plus years of CRE experience, we welcome you to apply to be a LEAD mentor. And then we are also looking for evaluation firms, foundations, think tanks, universities, nonprofits, or any organization that is committed to incorporating CRE in their work to serve as a practicum site and host a scholar at your organization to work on an evaluation project in thought partnership with you. So what are the benefits of being a scholar? You are in a community with like-minded evaluators. You're learning alongside them. You're building relationships. That's one of the biggest components that we hear from our scholars is that they have built a community, they've built friendships, and you're learning CRE theory and application in a unique curriculum that the ETB team, alongside LEAD alumni, have built together. You're also then applying what you've learned hands-on at a practicum site, being paid for that work as well. You're building a one-on-one relationship with a seasoned evaluator in your mentor relationship, and you're also building relationships with other mentors. So you're not just paired with your mentor, you're also in small groups with other mentors. You're building relationships with LEAD alumni who have already gone through the program. You're also accessing professional development led by ETB community members and other experts. And you're also able to access other ETB programming that we'll talk about in a little bit. And there's also opportunities to publish or present at AEA or other evaluation conferences with other scholars, mentors, practicum sites, alumni, and of course, becoming a part of the LEAD community. As for mentors, you are supporting the development of these amazing emerging scholars. Also learning alongside your scholar, we heard from mentors all the time that they are learning as a part of this experience as well. You're also in a community of like-minded evaluators. We hold mentor communities of practice where mentors get together, they talk about their learnings, they talk about ways that they can support evaluators together. You're building relationships with other scholars and mentors in small groups. You have the opportunity yourself to lead professional development sessions for just the scholars or for the larger ETB community. You also have free access to ETB programming and the opportunity to publish or present with other ETB community members. And then there's also the opportunity to fast track your application to the ACE network, which Nancy and Angel will talk about in a little bit. And then, of course, becoming a part of the LEAD community. And then practicum sites for organizations that are interested in hosting scholars. You're, of course, supporting the development of these scholars and applying CRE. You're also learning to embed CRE in your organizational practices. We've heard from organizations that have participated as practicum sites that they have changed their practices based on their experiences as a practicum site in the LEAD program. A lot of folks have come back to be repeat practicum sites because of this. You're getting hands-on evaluation work in a selected project. And you also get the opportunity to be in community with other organizations that are serving as practicum sites, because we do also host a practicum site community of practice. This is also a great opportunity to connect with CRE practicing evaluators for future contracting opportunities. A lot of folks go back to the scholars that they have worked with in the past for other opportunities that they have in the future. Of course, the opportunity to publish or present with your scholar at AEA. Free or discounted access to select ETB programming and becoming a part of our wonderful LEAD and ETB community.
Cheyenne, can I lift up something from the chat? Allison was just asking, how do you sign up to be a practicum site? I know that we do have an application process, which is coming soon. Is there anything else that you'd like to share around that with her question?
Yes, we have an application that comes out, like you said, it comes out in the spring or summer. If you'd like to also have a conversation with one of our team members, I know we're sharing some contact information soon. We love to have conversations with practicum sites to answer any questions that you might have. about what it is like to host, what the expectations are. So we're happy to answer any of those questions.
Yeah, thanks, Cheyenne.
Should I
And our
send an email to you? Is that how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. I can drop my email in the chat.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks, Allison. And our team is also around. We'll hold definitely some time after our space today too, if you'd like to stay on the line and chat with some of us further. So thank you, Cheyenne. Thank you, Allison. All right. I think next up is our ACE team.
Thank you. Nancy, go ahead. You want to kick us off?
Sure. So I'm Nancy Vang. Some of you got to meet me in the breakout room. I am the ETB project manager and also the project manager for our Advancing Culturally Responsive and Equitable Evaluation Network, or ACE network. A part of our work is elevating Indigenous and racially and ethnically diverse evaluators who are historically and presently underrepresented and marginalized in the U.S. And committed to culturally responsive and equitable evaluation. This team includes me and co-director Angel Villalobos. Our work is bringing together and building community with folks who are a part of this network. And if next slide, please. We are currently a network of over 120 members across the US, US states and territories. To be a part of the network, we are continuously opening applications. Membership is always rolling, so you can apply anytime. Some of the general eligibility that we do look for folks who would like to be a part of this network is that folks must identify as an evaluator who is a part of a racially and or ethnically diverse group. You must also reside within a U.S. state or territory or a sovereign tribal nation that shares the same geography. What we look for is evaluators who have 7 or more years of paid evaluation experience, which includes work in key lead roles, being a principal investigator, project director, project lead, or many similar examples as that on at least 3 evaluation projects. We do look for evaluators who have knowledge and experience in CRE, and of course in your application process itself include a high quality CRE-focused work sample along with your work. Much of the work we do is building community and connecting evaluators with each other. And I'll share more about that in our next slide too, regarding some of the benefits. Thank you. So parts of the benefits of the membership and being a part of this network and community with fellow CRE evaluators is peer connection with evaluators who also practice CRE. So much of this space is really helping you build those connections, but also deepen your practice with each other, sharing your knowledge, sharing your evaluation projects, your work, and cultivating that space together. Being a part of the ACE network too, we do offer and support in providing and hosting professional development and community building activities, virtual, and we're hoping that this year we do offer more in-person spaces as well. That brings you together with not only other evaluators, but also funders of evaluation, fellow evaluation partners, and of course, as I mentioned, network members. Being a part of the ACE network too also provides access to evaluation funding, potentially any career or work opportunities, sometimes on an early or exclusive basis with some of our funders who directly are sharing any opportunities that they like to offer directly to ACE Evaluation Network members. And then, of course, I believe Liz mentioned this earlier, being a part of the ACE Evaluation Network too also means that you're a part of our evaluator database. And this database is essentially an evaluator profile that is a part of this resource that is open to anybody. So the evaluator database is a free resource that we provide for anyone who is interested or is looking for ways to find local or national CRE practicing evaluators across the U.S. States and territories. As a part of this work is also expanding the connections and resources that we have to students, locally based communities, other evaluation organizations or evaluation partners, and of course, funders. Angel, I invite you to share if there's any other benefits that you'd like to share regarding the ACE Evaluation Network.
Thank you, Nancy. You get to talk to us.
It's true.
confusing. No, I appreciate what you shared and how you described it. I think um, it is a space to connect with other like-minded folks who have experience with culture responsive and equitable evaluation, to be thought partners, to be colleagues, um, to support one another. And we've seen and have shared many stories of how folks have built and strengthened these relationships through their connections with ACE. And so I know that as we talk about this, it can be a little confusing to differentiate between what would fall under lead and what would fall under ACE. And so we will get to that in a moment, but we wanted to also share a little bit more about what we hope to do in ACE for this upcoming year. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And so membership applications, and we have rolling applications. They're open year round. We shifted that last year. And so that means that anyone can apply whenever you feel inspired and whenever you feel ready. We recognize that all of our lives are very different. We do different things, different items, there's different schedules. And so please submit whenever you have the time when you're ready to do it. We are we do have rolling applications, but we do reviews twice a year, or I'm sorry, we shifted to reviewing them as they come in, and we hope to get you a response within, I believe, 60 days of submitting your application on whether or not you were accepted to be a part of ACE. If for whatever reason you do not meet the qualifications or are not invited to join, we would follow up with you and share the feedback on why that decision was made. In addition to that, we are expanding and updating our coffee breaks formats, including some of the way that we approach it, some of the way that we connect funders and evaluators together, as well as bringing in lead scholars into that space, which we started doing last year. We will continue doing professional development series, and this year will be pretty emergent based on what is happening in this space. And so we invite folks from both internal and external to ETB to join us in sharing some of their knowledge and the space that they're in as it relates to learning and evaluation. And then we also have communities of practice, which we'll get to and we talk about some of our field building components, but a lot of the ACE network members participate across several of the program aspects, including then lead program, where we have many ACE network members who also support and act as a scholar for a mentor, or a mentor for a scholar. And sometimes they host a scholar as a practicum site and also for professional development workshops. I just flew in last night from a wonderful 2-day retreat with our team in person. And so I think my brain is still catching up from being like in the East Coast time. And so I apologize if I'm mixing my words a bit. Nancy, anything else you'd like to add before we talk a little bit about the differences between ACE and LEAD?
Yeah, I think I'll just add that with all of these potential things that we hope for, Angel, as you mentioned, it's certainly very emergent, as you know, times always are. But I think we really want a lot of also what happens is to be reflective of what ACE Evaluation Network members want. So whether you're currently a part of the network, whether you're interested in being a part, whether you're currently applying and you have an active application, or just someone who is interested in supporting, you know, building evaluation practice, that we want it to be reflective and representative of what you all are also seeking, as well as what's emergent. And so we continue to welcome and explore like what partnerships could look like, what hosting a series of events could look like. So please reach out to Angel or I, and we're happy to drop our contact too. Otherwise, yeah, we can move on to talking a little bit about ACE and LEAD and where people fit.
And one of our staff members, Jan Wilkins, did a lovely job of putting some of these really cool shifts, transitions in the slide, and I'm in love with it. It's the little things. So ACE and LEAD, where do I fit? There are some similarities between both of the programs, as you've heard, but it is very distinct. And as we've talked about it, it's really aimed at at tailoring to where folks are in their space, whether it's early on in their career journey and in their space, or it's later on in their experience and they want to connect with others. And so, as we've mentioned, ACE is a community for folks who have 7 years or more of evaluation experience, specifically with culture responsive and equitable evaluation or adjacent types of work that relate to that. We recognize that not everybody everybody uses the language that we use here. We want to respect the diversity that that brings. And so again, it's part of that guide, but really it's more on the work that you're doing and how you're running evaluations to make sure that you're centering cultural responsiveness and equitable practice with the folks that you're working with. It is a self-directed network and community building opportunity where we offer some activities and events, but really and trust that the network members are also reaching out and connecting with one another. It is much more hands-off than what LEAD is. And it is opportunities to share and build your evaluation experience from one another through either coming to professional development series, sharing in the newsletters that we share out, joining the LEAD program to support the LEAD scholars, or connecting with other funders to some of the other programming that we talked about. Again, very self-directed. On the LEAD side, as Cheyenne mentioned earlier, it's for folks who are earlier on in their career space with 3 to 5 years of evaluation experience. It is a cohort model, more hands-on, more follow-through with folks as this process, and it's opportunity to share and build your own evaluation and pre-practice with fellow folks in that same space. And the similarities where they connect, it's that we do prioritize and center racially and ethnically diverse evaluators in these two programs, and we hope to connect them and grow them in that space. We offer opportunities to share and build your evaluation expertise with both groups. So there's professional development series, or sometimes there's shares presentations that happen like at the Evaluation Association, American Evaluation Association, so things like that. And then they both also allowed you to lead and participate in member-led events that align with the needs of the community in this space. Nancy, anything else that you'd add, or Cheyenne?
No, I think you got it. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. This is something that we've heard a lot of, and so we hope that this graphic helps differentiate, and we continue to work to make sure that our language is as clear as possible. And so with that, I think we're good to, or any initial questions coming up for ACE that we could answer, or should we move to the film building, Nancy?
Let's see. I don't think I see anything in the chat yet. So let's move along. Yeah.
Okay. So field building. So this is a really big arm for expanding the bench, and it encompasses a lot of different components of the work that we do. And so Elizabeth Waitzig has been leading this work since Change Matrix took on this initiative, and I have since joined to also support this work, but I'd love to invite you, Liz, to share a little bit more about the field building space and some of the areas that we work in in field building.
Yeah, Angel, thank you so much. And you're right, field building has been huge, and we've been thinking about it broadly, and now we're starting to think about it in smaller ways too, in like components. One of them is building knowledge. And so some of our field building efforts have to do specifically with building knowledge. And you're going to hear about the Cree Learning Series, for example. That is a way in which we make sure that people have access to understanding what Cree practice is, even though it's not a methodology, it's an approach, but we want everybody to have fundamental principles, to understand the fundamental principles of Cree practice. We also want to build that practice. So it's not just what it is, it's how do you do it? And so we have some really great field building activities that go to building the practice. This third piece, funding the ETB initiative, I could also entitle Building the Community. Because while it's very tempting sometimes to think about funders and evaluators in different spaces, it's important to us that we create ways for funders and evaluators to be in the same space, and not just about partnering. That's very important, partnering in the work, but also understanding what Cree looks like, what it could be, what it should be. How do you together learn from each other and build this practice? And so I think about field building as building knowledge, building practice, and building the community. And the funders that we engage in this are both funders who we count on for financial support for all of the infrastructure of this initiative, but we also want them to be a part of the community as they're thinking about how culturally responsive and equitable evaluation impacts their practice within their organization. And they have communities amongst themselves. So there's lots of ways to do that. And I think Angel's going to start us off learning a little bit about building knowledge and practice.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, so the Cree Learning Series. So this is something that has been, how many years would you say, Elizabeth, it's been running? 4 or 5?
Yeah, it's for at least four.
Yeah, and we've had several different versions of it with the context and the information sharing still being very much true to its original inception, but the modalities of it has changed, and I'll share a little bit more of that in a moment. But the Cree Learning Series provides an introductionary overview of Cree. It helps folks who feel like they're maybe beginner to intermediate in their learning space of culture responsive and equitable evaluation, and outlines key principles and theory and the importance of including that in every aspect of the evaluation ecosystem. It is some of the updates that we have seen and have heard from folks from the feedback that we've received is that they wanted to be able to access the information in a place that was easily accessible. So we used to have it like in a Word document or in a SharePoint space. It was a little rough at the beginning, and it has now shifted into being hosted on Teachable. That really helps follow or creates a structured course that folks can then plug in, and you have an entire year plus to go through the curriculum, participate in the discussion boards and engage with them. But then we also have additional exercises or meetings or connection points with the learning guides where you then come together into a space of learning with one another, the students who are part of the series, but also with the learning guides. And so more information on the Cree Learning series can be found on the link, and we will be reopening up the series again for 2025 in the next, I believe, couple months. So stay tuned for that as that opens up. And then next, I'd like to talk a little bit about um, the Cry Learning series. Oh, well, sorry, I forgot we had the slide in here. It's okay. But additional information, we invite students and emerging evaluators who are wanting to build their foundational knowledge, evaluation professionals who want to expand their understanding of culture responsive and equitable evaluation, and also funders and decision makers who really could use the benefit of understanding the importance of bringing culture responsive and equitable evaluation into this ecosystem and into the work that they do. And so students join for free. There is a general enrollment fee that we ask for the course, but we never want that to be a barrier for folks. So if you want to attend and you would like to, you don't have the ability to pay for that, we have a sliding scale, and we also have scholarships that we give out to folks who can attend the class for free. Nancy, anything else you'd add on that?
Yeah, I'll just share that we are currently closed for enrollment as we are still developing our plans for this calendar year. So we are hoping to open registration later this spring 2025. Just in case people are still interested, I know we received a few inquiries just earlier this year. But if you are interested, please let us know. And we are happy to put you on a wait list so that you can be notified as soon as we reopen registration.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, Mandy, let's see what slide is next. Perfect. So we also host, we've been able to host a couple of culture responsive and Indigenous evaluation series events, professional development events. And to begin with, anytime we talk about this, I want to make sure that I share that CRY is a term coined by ACE Network member Dr. Nicole Bowman, and of Bowman Performance Consulting. The work that she has done to discuss and talk about the importance of Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous wisdom and sharing has been such a crucial component of the work that happens both within ETB and outside in the evaluation space. And as part of this appreciation of this work, we invited other Indigenous evaluators or evaluators who identify as Indigenous to come share about the work that they're doing and how it can relate or does relate to CRY or some other ways of knowing and being. And so for this past couple of years, we've invited Dr. Michelle Jacob to share and to bring different conversations with us on the work that she's doing, as well as what is most prominent in the space where she's at right now. And so this last year was on being a good relative in your organization, learning and Yakima story work, which to any of you who were able to join was incredible. We have a blog that talks a little bit more about the stories that were shared from some of the elders, the Yakima elder that joined. And we really got truly lucky to experience even some family components as they were sharing some of their knowledge with us when one of their grandkids showed up on the camera. And it was just a very different way of being that I still remember very fondly, and that we want to continue expanding and offering as we continue to do this work in the field building space. And so with that, I'll pass it back to Elizabeth to talk more about how we connect with funders and evaluators, or how we connect funders and evaluators.
Thanks, Angel. So we talked a little bit earlier about building community, and at the heart of the community are the relationships that we create with each other. And so these three ways are ways to build knowledge, build relationships and community, and also build build practice. So build in the building practice umbrella, we have something called ETB equity consultations. And this is an opportunity for funders who have maybe a question, maybe they're struggling with something about their culturally responsive and equitable evaluation practice. Maybe it's about how do I create an RFP or a request for a letter of interest that in a way that is equitable. How do I go through creating a partnership in a way that is equitable? So we recognize that that may not be a long-term or a really in-depth partnership, but it's still a partnership that's really valuable. So we have a group of ACE evaluators who are available to participate in equity consultations with funders on in smaller chunks of time, either an hour quick consult, half a day based on a specific thing, or maybe a whole day based on strategy, a desire for a different strategy. So that's the equity consultation piece. We also, Angel talked a little bit about coffee breaks earlier, and I'll just say very quickly that when the pandemic first came about, what we lost was our ability to be in relationship with each other in person, right? So I had a couple of funders say to me, I used to go to conferences and have coffee with evaluators, and that's how I would get to know them. And that might lead to, I mean, it was a relationship, but it also might lead to work. And I don't have that. And so we decided we would sponsor that virtually. And so we put together coffee breaks so that evaluators and funders without a job hanging in the balance in the conversation could just get to know one another in service of building relationships, in service of really building understanding about each other's practice. It is evolving. It continues to evolve. We're out of our houses now. It should evolve. So stay tuned for that. It's been a very, I think, valuable opportunity for both funders and evaluators, and we keep trying to make it just better and better and more relevant and appropriate for participants. We do communities of practice. You saw that on a slide earlier. I will say that one of the funder communities of practice that we had, and it was really around the recruitment process, was helpful in that the funders had a space to talk about what they were thinking about and trying out and challenged by. And at some point, evaluators from our ACE network were able to come in and say, this is what's going on for us. This is the experience that we're having, and this is what we would ask from you. And so imagine for a moment that dialogue happening in other spaces. I don't know that there are a lot of opportunities for that to happen, but that kind of back and forth, multiple perspective, different members of the community in dialogue about something that is so central to this practice was really valuable. And I do know that there are funders that made tangible changes to their recruitment practice because of that experience. And that's just an example of some of the ways in which we want to build a field that has relationships, knowledge, and practice in common. So, Angel, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So as we wrap up, I just wanted to mention a little bit briefly some of the work that we're starting to do with the ETB regional work. And so many of you have probably heard us talking here and there, either at the AA gathering or different spaces, but it is now officially official. And it was always official, but now it's even more official. We are kicking off this space in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas. As we step in, we are in the space of planning and identifying local partners. So if you have any suggestions of individuals or organizations who are actively doing work in this region, please reach out to us. We'd love to collaborate and connect with them. And just a quick rundown of what ETB ETB Regional is, it is an effort, an attempt of synthesizing the work that we've been able to do, not synthesizing, but bringing to life the work that we do at a national level into that regional space at a local level, because we recognize that so many different communities and spaces operate in so many different ways, and it is impossible for us to be able to make broad-reaching statements all the time with and supporting folks in a way that makes sense to them. And so, as part of that, we see ourselves as a catalyst in bringing folks together in many of these different spaces where the folks in these communities are really the ones that lead the work. We're just the ones that really help with some of the logistical aspects, bringing folks together, identifying partners to have that space, since we know that not many people have the capacity to build those connections with one another. So more to come on that. And we are almost out of time, so we'll run to the next slide real quick to just some general questions that might be happening. But actually before that, and other folks leave, Manny, do you want to announce the two winners of the book before folks have to jump off?
Yes, thank you, Angel. The two winners of the book are, sorry, I just lost them. Tyree Davis and Nayeli Bernal. And please correct me if I mispronounce your name. You have won a copy of the textbook, the Cree textbook, and we will contact you to follow up on a shipping address that we can send it to.
Thank you so much, Manny. So now congratulations to the two who won, and now we'd love to hear some questions. Again, we'll have open breakout rooms for different of the programming elements, but if you have any general questions for us, now would be a great time. Is that correct, Nancy?
Yes, yeah. Give a few seconds to folks. Anything in the chat I'll also be looking out for. Yeah. If not,
Small breakout rooms.
yeah, we could go to programmatics breakout rooms. Thank you, thank you. Oh, before we
have
do
a
that,
couple.
oh my goodness. Please complete a post-event survey for us. If you can scan the QR code, I believe my colleague Jen will also be dropping the link in the chat. We'll also include it in the post follow-up email that will include a PowerPoint, Zoom recording, anything that you can refer back to of what we shared. But we are happy to stay on for any program specific questions too. And we are happy to break off into our program teams to help answer that as well.
So we have two folks who raised their hands actually. So Olivia and then Sanyong.
Hey, I'm not sure if you can see or hear me. I can't find myself on the screen. Cool.
Yes, we can.
Great. Quick question. I work with Eval Youth North America, which serves both the US and Canada. Is there any kind of similar opportunity in the Canadian context that I would be able to share with those folks as well? And I realize that's probably outside of y'all's wheelhouse, just curiosity's sake, wanting to make sure I'm framing things appropriately when sharing that with folks.
Yeah. I'm thinking of a couple of our ACE Network members, who work with some folks in Canada who might have better answers and resources for you, Olivia. So please send me an email and I will follow up with you with those names and help make those connections.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I think there was
Yep,
one
one
hand
more.
up. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, this is Sam. Hi, Angel. Thank you so much for introducing the programs. I have a very specific question about ACE. I was wondering if this is the right platform. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right. I just feel that like for me, I've been evaluating for a decade. So but I haven't used the Cree approach ever. So I wanted to check with you because there was a part of the qualifications that you have used Cree as an approach. I mean, would that still be applicable, or there could be that we can discuss about it?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and actually great that it's asked here because I think it's relevant to everyone who might be interested. And we recognize that a lot of the naming conventions that people use is very westernized in its approach, and it's not meant to eliminate the thousands of years of historic knowledge that has happened. And so that's why like indigenous ways of learning, as well as other ways of being, are welcomed as part of CRE in this space. The purpose of it is to ensure that your experience has incorporated and centered culturally responsive activities and approaches in the work that you're doing, but that is also considerate of individuals' lived experience and that follows the 10 principles of CRE in one way or another. Again, the point is that there is equity that is being centered, there is the people, the community that you're working with, and not so much that you're using the terminology that we've named. That is just more of a tool to help us communicate with one another within this space. So yes, absolutely apply. And you can reach out to us as well, and we can have conversations if you have specific examples that you want to run through.
Sure, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and split up into the 3 breakout rooms. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you have additional questions, we'll see you in the breakout rooms. And if not, we thank you for your participation and engagement today.